The man woke in silence. Cold air brushed against his skin as he opened his eyes. Around him there was no sunlight, no blue sky, no sound of earth. Instead, he found himself inside a place that did not belong to his world. The walls were silver and curved, glowing faintly with blue lines of light that pulsed like veins. The air smelled sharp, metallic, and strange. He could hear a low hum, a sound that never stopped, as if the whole place was alive. He sat up slowly, his head heavy, his throat dry. His body ached as if someone had dragged him for miles. Then he remembered. The last thing he saw on Earth. The night sky lit with fire, alien ships above his city. People screaming, running, burning. He had tried to help his family, but then the light swallowed him. After that, darkness. And now he was here. He was not in a home. He was in a cage. The chamber he woke in was filled with other humans. Men, women, even children, all trapped behind glowing barriers. Their eyes were wide with fear. Some whispered quietly. Some did not speak at all. They looked broken, their shoulders heavy with hopelessness. When they saw him awake, a few shook their heads as if to warn him, "Stay quiet, do not fight, do not draw attention." But his eyes wandered beyond them, to the creatures that walked past the cages. They were tall, their skin covered with dark scales that shimmered in the cold light. Their faces were long, with sharp eyes that glowed pale yellow. Their arms ended in claws, and they carried weapons that seemed part of their bodies, machines fused to flesh. When they spoke, their voices were deep and guttural, like rocks grinding together. He could not understand the words, but he understood the tone. Contempt, laughter, power. To them, humans were not people. They were toys. One of the creatures stopped near his cage. It leaned closer, pressing a clawed hand against the barrier. The man felt the air around him shake as the alien's eyes studied him. Then it laughed, a sound so cruel and sharp it pierced the silence of the chamber. The alien muttered something, and the others nearby joined in. They were mocking him, mocking all of them. The man lowered his gaze, but not in fear. Inside him, something was rising. It was not weakness. It was not surrender. It was rage. He had seen his home burn. He had heard his people scream. He had lost everything. These aliens believed he was nothing more than prey. But he was not prey. He was human, and humans did not forget. The others in the cage could not see what was happening inside him. They thought he was like them, silent, broken, waiting to die. But inside his chest, his heart was beating louder, harder, each second like a drum of war. His breath slowed, his eyes sharpened. He studied the aliens' movements, their weapons, their timing. They thought they were untouchable. They thought no one could fight back. They were wrong. He sat back against the cold wall of the cage, his face calm, his eyes steady. For now he waited. The aliens had power, yes, but power made them arrogant. Arrogance made them blind, and blindness would be their end. The hum of the ship continued. The light shifted across the silver walls. Somewhere above, heavy machines turned and engines roared. The man could feel the ship moving through space, carrying him far from Earth. He knew he might never see his home again. But the thought did not crush him. It sharpened him. Across from him, a young boy stared at him through the bars of another cage. The boy's face was pale, his lips trembling. When their eyes met, the boy whispered, "We cannot fight them. They will kill us." The man did not answer. He only looked at the boy, steady, firm, and for a brief second the boy stopped trembling. The aliens believed they had broken humanity, but they had only forged something stronger. One man sat in silence, his rage deep and heavy, waiting for the moment to strike. He did not know when it would come. He did not know how, but he knew one thing. When he moved, when he unleashed what burned inside him, the aliens would remember that humans were never meant to be ruled. The chamber door opened with a hiss, and more aliens entered, dragging machines behind them, strange devices glowing with energy built for experiments. The prisoners shrank back in fear. The aliens laughed again, but the man's eyes narrowed. He watched every detail, every sound, every mistake they made. He was no soldier, no hero. He was just a man. But even an ordinary man, when pushed beyond the edge, could become something else. And deep inside, he whispered to himself, "You should never have taken me. You should never have pushed me this far." The hum of the ship grew louder, as if it knew something was coming, something no alien had prepared for. The cage of power. The man sat in silence as time slipped by. There was no day, no night here, only the endless hum of alien machines and the steady glow of the ship's walls. He could not tell how long he had been trapped. Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt like days. But inside him the fire did not die. It grew hotter, heavier, waiting for the right spark. Around him the cages were filled with humans who no longer looked human. Their bodies were weak, their eyes dull, their hope broken. Some cried softly. Some prayed. Others stared at nothing, lost in their own despair. The aliens had not just locked their bodies. They had locked their spirits. Every few moments an alien guard would walk past the cages, tall, armored. Their weapons fused to their arms like living metal. Their steps were heavy, their yellow eyes cold. They never looked at the humans as equals. They looked at them the way a butcher looks at animals before slaughter. The man studied them. Every movement, every glance, every mistake, the way their armor hissed when they walked, the way their claws clicked against the floor, the way their weapons glowed faintly with energy, humming with deadly power. He saw what others did not. He noticed weakness in their strength. One guard stopped near his cage. It tapped its weapon against the barrier, and the force of the sound made the children in the cages scream. The alien laughed, a sound that made the man's blood boil. Another alien joined in, throwing scraps of strange food at the prisoners. The food was rotten, cold, tasteless. Humans picked at it anyway, too hungry to resist. But the man did not move. He kept his eyes steady, watching, listening. The aliens thought he was broken like the rest. That was their mistake. Later, the aliens dragged one of the humans out. A young man, no older than 20. They pulled him by his arms, ignoring his cries. The others pressed against the cage walls, helpless. The man inside watched closely as the guards strapped the prisoner to a strange machine. The machine's lights flickered, scanning the human's body, measuring, recording. The young man screamed as needles pierced his skin, pulling blood, drawing energy. The aliens wrote on glowing tablets, their voices low but filled with satisfaction. To them, this was science. To the humans, it was torture. When the aliens were done, they dropped the young man back into his cage like a broken toy. His body shook, his breath shallow. He whispered, "They will never stop. They will never let us live." The man looked at him, his jaw tight, his fists clenched. He wanted to speak, to tell him he was wrong. But not yet. Words would not save them. Only action would. The ship shook slightly and the lights above flickered. Somewhere outside the chamber, engines roared louder. The aliens barked commands to one another, their voices rough and sharp. The man guessed they were moving closer to another planet, another raid, another destruction of human lives. Rage burned hotter in his chest. The boy from earlier, the one who whispered that fighting was useless, looked at him again. His eyes were wide, searching. "You are not afraid, are you?" he whispered. The man leaned forward slowly, close enough so the boy could hear him. "I am afraid," he said softly. "But fear is not the end. Fear is the beginning." The boy blinked, confused. But something in the man's voice made him sit straighter, his trembling less than before. The aliens did not notice this small exchange. They believed humans were finished. They believed cages could hold their spirit forever. But cages only held bodies, spirits. They could slip through the bars. And this man's spirit was already free. Hours passed. More experiments. More humiliation. But the man did not break. Each cruelty only sharpened his mind. He watched how the guards unlocked the cages. He saw the way their weapons charged and recharged. He noticed how one alien's armor plate was loose near the shoulder. He counted the number of guards that rotated each shift. 4, then 3, then 2. He began to build a map inside his head. Every detail mattered, because every detail was a weapon. At one point, an alien guard shoved him hard against the barrier, laughing when the energy field sparked across his chest. The pain was sharp, burning, but he did not cry out. He only stared back, his eyes cold, steady, unblinking. The alien stopped laughing after a moment, uneasy, though it did not know why. The man leaned back, his breath steady. He whispered to himself so quietly no one else could hear. "Keep mocking me. Keep underestimating me. The longer you do, the stronger I become." In the corner of the chamber, the young boy whispered again. "What are you going to do?" The man did not answer. Instead, he closed his eyes and listened to the hum of the ship, to the footsteps of the guards, to the sound of alien voices. His silence was not weakness. It was preparation, because he knew the truth. The aliens believed they had captured humanity. But what they had really captured was something far more dangerous. Patience mixed with rage. The cage held him for now. But not forever. And when the door finally opened, when the moment came, one man would turn silence into war. The breaking point. The chamber was quiet when it happened. Too quiet. The hum of the ship still filled the air, but inside the cages the humans were silent, broken by another round of cruel experiments. The smell of burnt flesh lingered. A young woman lay shivering on the floor of her cage, her skin marked with glowing scars from alien devices. No one dared to look at her too long. No one dared to look at anything at all. But the man watched. He watched everything. His eyes followed the guards as they walked past, their claws tapping against the floor, their weapons pulsing with faint blue light. He had been watching for days, maybe weeks. He could not tell. Time did not exist here, only the waiting. One guard stopped near his cage. The creature tilted its head, its yellow eyes narrowing. It barked something in its harsh alien tongue, then reached through the barrier and grabbed the man by his hair. The barrier flickered open for a second, just long enough to let the alien's hand through. The others laughed, a cruel chorus that echoed in the chamber. The guard yanked his head back, exposing his neck. Its claws traced his skin, not cutting but threatening. The laughter grew louder. To them this was sport, a game, another way to remind the humans that they were powerless. But inside the man something snapped. The rage he had buried, the fury he had chained down broke free. For days he had studied, for days he had waited, and now the chance was here. His hand shot up faster than the alien expected. He grabbed its wrist, twisting it hard. The alien's eyes widened in shock as the man slammed its claw against the energy barrier. The sparks burst, searing the creature's skin. It roared in pain, but the man did not stop. He pulled harder, using every ounce of strength, and in one swift motion he yanked the alien's weapon free. The chamber exploded with chaos. The other guards roared, rushing forward, but the man was already moving. He fired the weapon blindly, a blast of blue energy cutting across the room. The sound was deafening, the light blinding. One guard fell, its chest burned through, smoke rising from the wound. The humans in the cages gasped. Some screamed. Others pressed closer to the barriers, their eyes wide with sudden, wild hope. The man did not hear them. His breath was sharp, his heart pounding. For the first time since Earth fell, he was not helpless. For the first time, he had a weapon. The guards tried to surround him. Their armor clanged as they moved, their claws clicking, their voices roaring commands. But the man was faster. He ducked low, rolling across the floor, firing again. Another alien dropped. The smell of burned flesh filled the chamber once more, but this time it was theirs. He felt the weapon grow hot in his hands, the hum inside it rising.
He did not know how it worked.
He did not need to. He only needed to point and fire. One guard lunged at him, claws raised. He swung the weapon like a club, smashing it across the creature's face. Bone cracked, blood spilled. The alien collapsed with a heavy thud. The man stood in the center of the chamber, his chest heaving, his eyes burning with fury. For a moment, the surviving guards hesitated. They had never seen this before. A human fighting back. A human killing them. A human refusing to bow. And in that hesitation, the man smiled. It was not joy. It was not triumph. It was a promise. The humans in the cages began to shout. Some called his name, though he did not answer. Some pounded against the barriers, screaming for freedom. For the first time in their eyes, the dullness was gone. Replaced by fire, by life. The surviving guards recovered, their rage boiling. They raised their weapons, preparing to kill him. Energy beams charged, glowing bright. The man tightened his grip on the stolen weapon. His arms ached, his body screamed with pain, but his mind was clear. He knew he could not win here, not yet. But he had already done enough. He had shown them. He had proven that cages could not hold humanity forever. The guards fired. The man dove behind the body of the alien he had killed. The blasts burned holes in the floor, shaking the chamber. Smoke filled the air. Through the smoke, the man's voice rose deep and steady. "You made a mistake," he said. His words echoed, strong enough for every prisoner to hear. "You thought humans would break, but you forgot one thing." He stepped forward, weapon raised, his eyes burning. "We do not break. We fight!" The guards roared and charged. The man fired again, blue light filling the chamber. Prisoners screamed and cheered all at once. The ship trembled as if it felt the war beginning inside its walls. This was no longer silence. This was no longer patience. This was the breaking point. Humanity's rage, the chamber stank of smoke and blood. The floor was covered with fallen alien bodies, their armor cracked, their blood black and shining in the dim light. The humans inside the cages pressed forward, their eyes wide with something the aliens had not seen in a long time. Hope. The man stood in the middle, his chest rising and falling with each breath. The stolen weapon in his hands glowed hot, humming like a storm trapped in metal. His face was calm, but his eyes burned like fire. He was not broken. He was not prey. He was the start of something the aliens had feared for centuries, but he knew this was only the beginning. The chamber doors burst open. More aliens stormed in, their weapons raised, their armor glowing with strange energy. The ground shook as their heavy boots slammed against the floor. They expected to find frightened prisoners. They expected to crush one rebel quickly. What they found was different. The man raised his weapon and fired. The blue blast tore through the first alien, sending it crashing into the wall. The humans inside the cages shouted, their voices echoing through the chamber. Some screamed for freedom, others screamed in anger. Their voices became a storm, rising louder with every second. The aliens hesitated. That hesitation cost them. The man charged forward, his movements sharp and fast. He swung the weapon like a blade, smashing another alien to the ground. He kicked hard against a third, his strength fueled not by training but by fury. His fists were weapons now, his rage guiding every strike. One of the aliens tried to grab him, but he twisted away, slamming the glowing rifle into its jaw. Bone cracked, black blood sprayed. The alien collapsed, and the man ripped its arm blade free. Now he carried two weapons. The humans roared. For the first time, their voices were not filled with fear but with power. The boy who had once whispered about hopelessness now shouted so loud his voice broke. "Fight! Fight! Fight!" The chant grew. Dozens of humans shouted together, pounding against the cage walls. Their fists struck the glowing barriers over and over, their cries shaking the chamber like thunder. The aliens turned their weapons toward the cages, ready to silence them. But the man was already there. He cut them down with savage strikes, his weapon flashing blue fire. He moved like a storm, faster than the aliens expected, stronger than he had ever been before. He was only one man, but he carried the weight of everyone who had ever fallen, every scream on earth, every flame that had burned his home, every tear that had fallen inside these cages. All of it burned inside him now, and the aliens could not stand against it. Another alien fell, and another. The floor shook beneath the violence. Sparks flew from broken weapons. The ship's alarms blared, red lights flashing across the walls. Somewhere above, alien voices barked in panic. The prisoners watched in awe. Some cried, but they were not tears of despair. They were tears of fury, of life, of something they thought was gone forever. The man turned his weapon toward the cages. He aimed carefully, blasting the locks. One cage door sparked and fell open. Then another, and another. The humans stumbled out, their bodies weak but their eyes burning. At first they hesitated, unsure if freedom was real. But then they saw the fallen aliens at his feet. They saw the rage in his face, and they knew this was no dream. One by one they picked up fallen alien weapons. They raised them, their hands trembling but their hearts strong. The man looked at them. His voice was steady, deep, commanding. "They thought we were finished," he said. "They thought we were broken, but we are still here. And now, we fight." A roar rose from the humans, louder than any sound in the chamber before. It was the sound of chains breaking. Together, they charged. The chamber became chaos. Humans struck with stolen weapons, with fists, with anything they could hold. The aliens fired back, but their aim faltered. They were too many, too desperate, too alive. The boy, once so afraid, swung a broken alien blade, cutting down a guard. His face was covered in sweat and blood, but he smiled through it. Others followed, their screams filling the chamber. The man led them, his strikes precise, his fury endless. He fought not for himself, but for every human voice that had been silenced. Every step he took was a promise. Humanity would not bow. The alarms grew louder. The ship itself seemed to tremble. More aliens would come. More battles would follow. But for now, this chamber was theirs. The man looked around at the freed humans, their faces fierce, their hands stained with alien blood. He raised his weapon high. "This is the beginning," he said. And in that moment, the cages that had once been prisons became the birth of a rebellion. The humans cheered, their voices shaking the very walls of the alien ship. The rage of one man had become the rage of many. and the galaxy was about to learn what it meant when humanity fought back. The Unleashed Legend. The rebellion inside the chamber was only the beginning. The alarms screamed through the ship, flashing red light across the silver walls. The voices of the aliens echoed in fury and panic. Somewhere deep inside, engines roared, the metal floor trembling with the weight of war. The man led the humans forward, his stolen weapon glowing in his hands. Behind him, the freed prisoners carried blades, rifles, even broken pieces of armor turned into weapons. They were weak, hungry, wounded, but their spirits were alive again. And that spirit was stronger than anything the aliens had imagined. The corridors of the ship stretched out like a maze. Strange lights flickered, pipes hissed steam, and shadows danced across the walls. Every corner carried danger. Every step could be death. But the humans followed him without hesitation. He was not a leader by choice. He was a leader because rage had turned him into one. The first wave of aliens came, dozens of them, their armor glowing, their claws dripping with energy. They roared in their deep guttural tongue and charged, weapons firing. The blasts shook the corridor, burning holes in the walls. The man did not stop. He raised his weapon and fired back. The humans followed, their stolen rifles spitting fire. The corridor became chaos, smoke filling the air, bodies falling on both sides. The aliens fought with strength, but the humans fought with something greater: desperation. Every strike was personal. Every blast was for Earth, for the cities burned, for the families lost. The boy who once whispered about fear now screamed as he cut down a guard, his small hands gripping the alien blade with wild strength. An old man too weak to run threw himself at an alien's legs, dragging it down so another human could strike. The aliens were trained soldiers, but soldiers had rules. Humans in rage did not, and that made them dangerous. The battle pushed forward. Step by bloody step, the humans advanced through the ship. More prisoners joined as cages were broken open, their voices rising into one great cry. The aliens had thought they were keeping animals. Now they realized they had trapped fire. The man never slowed. His eyes burned with fury, his body heavy with wounds, but still he moved. Every time he lifted his weapon, another alien fell. Every time he spoke, the humans roared louder. "They fear us now," he growled, his voice echoing through the corridor. "Do not stop. Make them remember." The ship shook again, harder this time. Alarms blared in a new tone. Somewhere above, alien commanders barked orders, their fear hidden behind anger. The man knew what it meant. The ship was calling for help. More would come. Perhaps an entire fleet. But he did not care. He was not fighting for survival anymore. He was fighting for vengeance, for proof, for the truth the aliens had forgotten, that humanity was not weak. Humanity was fire. Finally, they reached the command chamber. The door was massive, carved with alien symbols that glowed faintly in the dark. Guards stood waiting, their armor heavier, their weapons larger. And at the center, towering above them, was the warlord. The alien warlord's body was covered in black armor that shimmered like stone. Its face was hidden beneath a mask of bone. In its hand, it carried a blade longer than a man's body, humming with deadly energy. Its voice was deep, shaking the chamber as it spoke. "You are nothing," it growled. "One man cannot break an empire." The humans froze, fear flickering in their eyes again. The warlord's presence was overwhelming, its power crushing. But the man stepped forward. His face was calm, his voice steady. "I was just a man," he said, "but you pushed me too far, and now I am something you will never forget." The warlord roared and charged, its massive blade swinging. The man met it head-on, blocking the strike with his stolen weapon. Sparks exploded as metal clashed, the sound echoing like thunder. The floor shook beneath their battle. The warlord struck again and again, each blow powerful enough to break stone. But the man did not fall. He ducked, rolled, struck back, every move guided by fury. His body screamed with pain, but his rage drowned it out. The humans watched in silence, their eyes locked on the duel. The fate of their rebellion hung in this fight. At last, The warlord raised its blade high for a killing strike. The man saw the opening. With a roar that shook his chest, he drove his weapon upward, piercing through the warlord's armor. The alien howled, its blade dropping from its claws. The man twisted the weapon, pulling it free as black blood sprayed across the chamber. The warlord staggered, then fell with a heavy crash. Silence filled the chamber. The humans stared in disbelief. The warlord was dead. The man stood above the body, his breath heavy, his weapon dripping with alien blood. Slowly, he raised it high. "This is who we are," he shouted. "We are humanity, we are rage, and we do not bow." The humans erupted in cheers, their voices so loud the walls seemed to tremble. The sound was not just victory, it was rebirth. The ship's alarms still blared. More enemies would come. Perhaps death would still follow. But none of that mattered now, because one man had proven the truth. He was just a man once, but now he was legend. And the galaxy would never forget the day humanity's rage was unleashed.